Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into something super exciting, a seriously powerful, high-level blueprint for what we call infinite scale. We've gone ahead and extracted 9 foundational keys directly from our source material. Keys that can literally multiply your value exponentially, no matter what you're trying to build. Now I know on the surface these might just sound like a bunch of corporate buzzwords, but stick with me here. When you actually look closely at how these concepts interact, they form this incredibly structured, step-by-step blueprint for massive leverage.
So if you look around, you've probably noticed this huge disparity in how people work versus what they actually achieve. I mean, why is it that some people just seem to scale their impact, their output, and their wealth through the roof, while others, who are honestly working just as hard, if not harder, end up hitting this exhausting, immovable wall? We've all seen it, right? Well, the difference isn't just raw effort. It's leverage. It's all about applying the exact right force in the right sequence. So what actually is the true formula for scale? How do we break past that wall once and for all?
Well, the answer really lies in this list. This right here is the raw source list of the 9 powerful levers we're analyzing today. We've got solving valuable problems, building systems, leveraging technology, and leveraging AI. Then there's investing, using other people's time, using other people's money, compounding your skills, and finally making better decisions. Now, sure, right now they just look like a bunch of independent bullet points, but the real magic, the actual blueprint we're talking about, is entirely in how they connect and build on top of one another. You can't just pick one at random and expect to go to the moon, you know? There's a very specific architecture at play here.
Okay, so let's dive into this. Here's our 4-part roadmap to make sense of it all. Part 1 is the foundation of value. Part 2, building scalable systems. Part 3 is the technology multiplier. And Part 4, ultimate forms of leverage. Let's kick things off with Part 1, the foundation of value, internal mechanics. Before you can even think about scaling externally, you absolutely have to nail down this internal foundation. Everything, and I mean everything, begins at the very root with this quiet internal act, making better decisions. Think about it. Every massive success story you see out there, that's really just the downstream result of thousands of micro decisions made correctly day after day. When we talk about leverage, making better decisions means you're constantly optimizing for long-term value instead of just settling for short-term comfort. It's choosing to spend an hour diving into a complex industry report instead of just mindlessly scrolling social media. It's deciding exactly who you hang out with and where you direct your focus. Because let's be real, applying incredible leverage to terrible decisions, that is a total recipe for disaster. So it literally all starts right here.
So, what happens when you actually make those better decisions day in and day out? Well, it leads us directly into compounding skills. This is basically the process where picking up one new skill drastically enhances the value and the application of every other skill you learn after it. When you consistently make the choice to learn and grow, your skills don't just add together, they multiply. It's like a giant puzzle. For example, if you learn basic accounting, okay, that's a solid skill. If you learn persuasive communication, that's another great skill. But what if you combine the two? Suddenly, you're not just an accountant or a speaker. You are someone who can financially analyze a massive deal and then persuasively negotiate it right to the finish line. You're building this internal arsenal of intersecting abilities which makes your personal capability incredibly leveraged before you've even hired a single person.
And that brings us to the ultimate culmination of this internal foundation, solving valuable problems. You basically take all those compounded skills, the ones you built by making better decisions, and you point them like a laser directly at the market. Because listen, a skill is really only as useful as the problem it solves, right? And that problem has got to be valuable. Simply put, the bigger the problem you can solve for other people, the more value you command. Like, solving a multi-million-dollar supply chain bottleneck is for sure infinitely more valuable than fixing a minor typo in the back office. You have to prove you've got the internal mechanics to solve something that actually matters, but once you've actually found that valuable problem, how on earth do you solve it at a massive scale without completely burning yourself out?
That brings us right to part 2, building scalable systems, escaping the grind.
So, building systems is really all about taking your successful problem-solving method and capturing it into a totally repeatable process. If you're out there solving problems entirely manually, your income and your impact are strictly tied to the hours you happen to be awake. You become the bottleneck. But when you build systems, you're literally extracting all those compounded skills right out of your brain and structuring them into standard operating procedures, checklists, automated email sequences, you name it. Things that can actually function without you micromanaging them second by second. You're basically cloning your methodology so the whole shebang can keep running smoothly even when you step away.
Now let's move to part 3, the technology multiplier, infinite replication.
Okay, so now that we actually have a solid system in place, it's time to pour some serious fuel on the fire. Technology takes those human-built systems and unlocks frictionless, infinite replication. You see, even a great human system still has speed limits. Technology totally removes them. Whether we're talking about software, media, or just raw code, tech lets your system execute a million times over. And the best part? It costs virtually nothing extra to do it. If your system is this brilliant new way of organizing data, leveraging technology means turning that into an app that works globally while you're fast asleep. Tech is the ultimate multiplier that takes your local, everyday system and makes it completely borderless.
But guys, we can't just stop at traditional tech anymore. The source explicitly calls out leveraging AI as the absolute cutting-edge multiplier. We are way beyond just basic tech that blindly follows a few lines of coded rules. AI lets us turn those basic systems into genuinely intelligent automation. Just imagine plugging in a large language model to automatically handle, say, 90% of your Tier 1 customer support tickets, right? And it's actually adapting and responding in real time. By leveraging AI, you're essentially giving your technological systems a brain. It drops the friction of scale down to practically zero. We're talking about single individuals suddenly pushing out the kind of output that used to require entire corporate departments. It is a total game changer.
And finally, Part 4, Ultimate Forms of Leverage, Infinite Scale.
To reach true infinite scale, you have to step completely outside your own physical and temporal limits. Look, the default human state is just relying on yourself, right? Using your own time and your own money. But the ultimate leverage completely flips that paradigm on its head. It introduces using other people's time and using other people's money. When you use other people's time, whether that's through hiring, contracting, or partnering up, you are literally buying back your own life and instantly multiplying what you can produce. And when you use other people's money, through loans, investors, or leverage, you completely untether your growth from the limits of your personal bank account. You're shifting out of basic addition and moving straight into exponential multiplication.
And all of this culminates in investing. Deploying capital through investing is absolutely the pinnacle realization of leverage. Because think about it, when you invest, you are essentially deploying your money to acquire other people's time, other people's systems, and other people's technology, all so they can work to solve valuable problems on your behalf. Money is the ultimate frictionless form of leverage because you can convert it into literally any of the other 8 keys we've talked about today. It works 24/7, it never needs a coffee break, and when you deploy it wisely, it just compounds endlessly. So let's bring this all together and see how these 9 keys lock in to form one master blueprint. Over here in column 1, the internal foundation, you start by making better decisions to compound your skills, which then allows you to solve valuable problems. Then, moving to column 2, external systems, you extract all that value by building systems, and then you replicate it infinitely by leveraging technology and AI. And finally, in column 3, the multipliers, you absolutely blow the ceiling off your potential by using other people's time, using other people's money, and ultimately investing. As you can see, it's this perfectly connected, step-by-step progression, going all the way from the micro to the macro. Which brings us to the absolute most important part of this entire explainer, actually applying it to yourself. Look, a blueprint is completely useless if it just sits collecting dust on a desk. Take a hard look at these 9 keys. I guarantee you, right now, there is a bottleneck somewhere in your current workflow. So I'm going to leave you with this. Which of these 9 levers are you currently neglecting? Take some time to really think about it. Find your weak link, fix it, and watch your scale become truly infinite.